This is episode number 23.
Yes,
23
sir.
is just Justin and me. And yeah, so no Tope, but we're gonna be discussing the playoffs.
Yes,
And
sir.
I mean, I'm glad that we waited. We were gonna do this yesterday. So today is Saturday. In full disclosure, it is 9 o'clock, so we have seen the first two games of the playoffs. So we kind of have a little bit of a preview of what's to come. But we only have seen the Milwaukee Bucks take down the Miami Heat and then the Mavericks upsetting the Clippers in game one. But that being said, like I said, I'm glad that we waited because we were going to try and make predictions without knowing the outcome of the Warriors Grizzlies game from yesterday. And I'm glad that we got to watch that because that
Great
was a
game.
classic. That was a classic right there. John Morant.
Great game.
John Morant and Steph Curry really put on a show for the whole world. So, but I
Steph
mean,
Steph was Steph was not happy about that outcome. I don't think I've ever seen him that heated after a game. You could just see it in his face. Just
yeah, I mean, despite his
but
nearly 30 or nearly 40 points in that game, and they still lost. So we'll see next year if he has a revenge tour or not. But anyway, let's just get into these playoff questions because it's finally time. We're here. We're here. So, Justin, my first question is which playoff series are you most excited for? And I can imagine what your answer is, but why don't you go
all
ahead?
right. Besides the Knicks Hawks series, obviously, besides the Knicks Hawks series, I'm very excited for Bucks Heat. I want to see the rest of this outcome, the rest of this series, because if I'm not mistaken, it was only a 2 point game today, right? The
Yeah,
Bucks won by two.
in overtime.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if this is real. I have no idea if this is real, but I've been seeing on Instagram at a couple places, and Stephen A. even talked about it on. I don't know if it was First Take, but he was talking about it on something. Giannis said he doesn't believe that the Bucks can beat the Heat, and
No way.
at first I was like, "There's no way that's real," because Giannis is not saying that. But then Stephen A. was talking about it, and I was like, that's not what an all-time, not an all-time player, but somebody is as great as Giannis for him to say
He's
that.
leader of the team. He wouldn't say that, especially right going
But
into the playoff series. Yeah.
but then they came out on top today, so I'm really excited to see if the Bucks can finally take care of business and beat the team that kept them from going to the finals last year.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely an interesting series because of obviously the rematch from last year's bubble matchup. And it's interesting because I'm pretty sure I was, before the game started, they were mentioning how much Giannis struggles against that team and how he basically averages like nearly like half the amount of points as he does against every other team against the Heat because of Bam and Jimmy Butler. And it's just like if they can get through them, I mean, I don't know. There isn't many teams
Because
left that can stop Giannis.
I would say, other than the Sixers, the Heat are probably the best defensive team in the
Yeah.
East, or at least to control Giannis.
Yeah.
But my favorite storyline about this series is, Giannis proving that he can beat people in the playoffs, but then also Jimmy Butler has to prove that he's top dog because he brought him to the finals last year. If he's not even going to bring him to the finals this year, then what's going on over there?
Yeah, though Jimmy Butler was a non-factor in their game today. He shot 4 of 22 from the field. So, I mean, not a very good game from him, but maybe they'll bounce back. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see if that's like a competitive series or if the Bucks just wipe the table because of how pissed they are. Who knows? But um for me, this is tough. And I think again, it's probably unfair because we already saw game 1, but I think the Clippers Mavericks series is going to be very interesting because I mean, and we'll get into this later, but I think if it's just Kawhi doing the carrying, kind of like I mean that was kind of the case today. It seemed like, I mean, he didn't have a great game, but at least in like that first quarter, he looked really good, and Paul George was struggling. Like those two, they have to be locked in every game.
Yeah, that I was I couldn't believe it when I saw. For everybody watching, I was at work today, so I didn't see a second of either of these games. But when I saw that the Clippers lost, I was losing it. I couldn't believe that. Was Kristaps healthy? Was he playing today?
Yeah, he was. He was. But like the thing is, I feel like everyone views him as their second best player, but today it looked like it was Tim Hardaway Jr. Shout out to, the former Nick. I don't know. I
Yes,
just feel like
sir. Yes,
he
sir.
really stepped up in this game today. And, he's not a household name like Kristaps is. He's not an all-star. But like if he can carry the load, like he doesn't even have to do that much because of how good Luka is. Luka had a triple double, his third playoff triple double in 7 games. Like he's only played 7 playoff games in his career, and he already has 3 triple doubles in the playoffs. I mean, if they get any kind of production from any of their like secondary players, I mean, this is concerning for the Clippers. Like I don't know, but it is just one game, so you don't want to overanalyze it. But yeah, um,
Yeah, I mean, I I will watch game 2 for sure because I need to know what happened with the Clippers. Like, did Paul George really play that bad that him and
uh,
Kawhi couldn't even put up like 50 points combined?
yeah, I mean, he wasn't actually that bad. I mean, I feel like he might have even had a better game than Kawhi, but at least what I saw in that first quarter, Kawhi looked like prime playoff Kawhi, and Paul George just like couldn't get anything going offensively. So, but then kind of later in the game, he kind of found his groove. It's just like they can't have, like neither of them can have any kind of slumps in this playoffs, like against any team really. And
Yeah.
like they have to be locked in at 100% of the time. Like they can't, like all season they were fine. Like Paul George was like one of the most efficient players. He's probably going to be an all NBA player. Same with Kawhi. Like they have to be that level. They're that version of themselves if they really want to. Because everyone says like, if the Lakers deal with injuries or, potentially even lose to the Phoenix Suns in the first round, the Clippers are the favorites in the West. That's what everyone
Yeah.
is saying. And like they did not look like the favorites at all today. So I don't know. And what's really concerning about this is if they lose in the first round, Kawhi, he could be a free agent this summer. And that's
He's out
big.
of here.
He could really just leave after this year. And
I think he will.
yeah, I mean, if they don't have a deep playoff run, I don't know why he would stay.
If they don't make it to the finals, I don't think he stays, honestly. Because last year they were the favorites. Last year it was like, oh, it's done. Clippers got this. And then, they obviously lost. And then Paul George was like, this wasn't the year where we have to get it done. This was like a test trial run. Next, he was basically saying this season they got to get it done, or else this team is going to fall apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I think he's right. I have no question in my mind. If they don't make it to the finals, I think Kawhi is out of here. Kawhi is long gone.
yeah. We'll see. But
One last thing. When does Paul George's contract expire?
well, I think he recently signed an extension, so he has like I think like 5 years left.
Yeah, I forgot
in
about
Los
that.
Angeles, so he might honestly just be there for the rest of his career or the rest of his prime at least, unless he gets traded. So I don't know. But I guess now moving on. Are there any teams that you think could potentially be upset? I know we just talked about the Clippers, but are there any other teams that might be on upset alert this postseason?
Sorry to say it, but I think your Denver Nuggets might be on upset alert, Jory. I don't know if I said it on the episode, but I definitely said it to you and Toby. I'm rooting for the Knicks and I'm rooting for the Trailblazers this offseason. If the Knicks don't win it, then Carmelo's got to win it. That's what I'm saying. But I think that backcourt, Dame and CJ, they're gonna go to work, Jory. I don't think you guys have anybody that's gonna be able to do nothing. But then again, Jokic is gonna be doing his thing, so that might be that. I just said those other two series, Bucks and Knicks, but that one is also the one I'm most excited for. I feel like that might be the most evenly matched, matchup of the whole playoffs.
No, I agree. I think the obvious answer is the Phoenix Suns, based on like seeding.
Yeah.
Because they're the 2 seed and they have to face the Lakers as the 7 seed. And, they're kind of an inexperienced team versus the reigning champions. But like the Nuggets, man, I'm concerned about this because their opponent, obviously, like you said, the Blazers, they are entering the playoffs with a 10-2 record in their final 12 games, which was the best record in the NBA in that span. And in those 12 games, they scored 125 points a game, which was second in the NBA. They shot 43% from 3, which was the best in the league. They averaged just 10 turnovers a game, which was the best in the league as well. And they had the 12th best defensive rating and allowed the fewest points in the paint in that span. So they really like completely just, I don't know how, they just completely changed their entire the way they play and everything. So I feel like they're even though they are a 6 seed, they're definitely better than if they had played like this the whole season. They might have been the 3 seed in the Western Conference.
The Trailblazers have been dealing with quite a bit of injuries, right, this season? Isn't it because
yeah, I mean,
or was that last season that was out?
I think he missed like a part of the beginning, maybe, and then I know CJ obviously was missed a bunch of time, but he's back.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, it's just concerning. And like you mentioned CJ and Dame, their backcourt, like Denver's starting shooting guard Will Barton. They're saying he might not be ready to play in this series because he's been dealing with the hamstring injury. So that means it's going to be potentially Facundo Campazzo, and Austin Rivers on Dame and CJ, and that just sounds like a recipe for disaster. Like I don't want that for the Nuggets. So it is concerning.
I'm not saying that Austin Rivers is going to be out here, locking either one of them up, but Austin Rivers is definitely the type of player to be like, I'm not letting this guy, work me. I'm not letting this guy drop 30 on me without me putting up, my own amount of points. So I feel like Austin Rivers, he'll give you guys a little bit of energy. He'll keep that backcourt moving.
Yeah, it's concerning. But the one thing I think the Nuggets have going for them more than anything else is that Carmelo Anthony has never won a game in Denver since being traded from the Nuggets.
Really?
No, he's never won a game
Not once in his career.
Since he's been traded to the since he's been traded to the Knicks, he's never won a game in Denver.
Yo, that's insane.
So if they can keep that losing streak alive, then they can win the series. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, but it'll be a fun series. We'll see how we'll see how that plays out. But all right, now moving on to some like individual players in terms of like their overall legacy. Which superstar do you think has the most to gain this postseason? And I mentioned, I think last year you could say this player was like Jimmy Butler because he certainly, turned a lot of heads in the bubble by the way he performed. I feel like at the end of the season, everyone viewed him a lot differently than entering the playoffs.
Hmm.
So, is there a player like that you think if he were to have a really good postseason, a lot of people would change the perception of, who they are?
Well, that kind of sways my answer the way that you worded that, because people's perception of this player are, people still think he's, a top five player, but my man Giannis Antetokounmpo, if he can get to the finals, people are going to be looking at him just like they were Giannis. People are going to be saying, or just like the people were saying about Jimmy, people are going to be saying Giannis is like top five power forward ever if he gets to the finals. People are going to be, saying he's already an all-time great, 2 MVPs, and he's 25 or, however old he is. So I feel like if Giannis gets to the finals, people are going to be saying that he is the best, if not like a top three player in the league.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say Giannis for this question, but I think you're right. I mean, because he probably has one of the toughest roads to the finals of any player. If you think about it, like the Bucks, they
Having
have
to
to
play the
face,
Heat in the first round, for sure.
yeah, like, and like the Heat aren't the best team, but they match up really well against Giannis and the
Yeah,
Bucks. And then in the second round, they're probably most likely, depending, if everything goes well, they're probably gonna have to face the Nets in the second round. Like that's and then, potentially the Sixers in the conference finals. Like that is
yeah,
easily the
yeah.
toughest road to the finals you could possibly have, really. So if he can pull that off, it definitely changes, the way people look at him. But
It would change the way I think about him, because I'm one of those people that are like, this guy's a bozo. He's never won nothing.
we'll see. We'll see if he can do it. But I think the answer, and we talked about this player earlier, Paul George, because last season was the first time Paul George had won a playoff series since 2014, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah,
But I mean, he didn't even perform that well last year in the playoffs. Everyone called him, way off P or pandemic P or, all these nicknames they gave him. I think he needs to go back to what he was when he was, leading the Pacers to the Eastern Conference Finals and turn back the clock and help the Clippers reach the first conference finals in franchise history. I think if he can do that, then I think he'll shed all the criticism that he got last year and, in previous years. But if he underperforms again, I don't know. I feel like people are going to bury him for the
oh,
rest of his career.
man, yeah, he's not. Nobody will let up on that guy ever. But
Yeah.
I totally agree, because I'm pretty sure before the playoffs, he was talking that boss shit. He was like, "Ain't no more pandemic P. Playoff P is back, baby." And everybody was like, "You shouldn't have said that, Paul. You shouldn't have said that, because now if you play bad, we're we're tearing you up, buddy. We're tearing
Mhm.
you up in these comments." So he's really got to live up to his word.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's we'll see. It didn't look good today, but we'll see. Kind of. I guess this is kind of the same question now that I kind of think about it. But is there a player that you think has the most to lose on the opposite end of the spectrum if they underperform? Like, then, you know, people will look at them worse. Who knows? I feel like it's kind of the same question, but
I mean, not, but I think the obvious answer, I think this answer is pretty obvious. I think everybody should be thinking the same thing. Kevin Durant, if they do not win this championship, his legacy is tarnished. He'll never be able to
really,
recover it. It's
really,
gone. It's tarnished. He'll never be able to fix it. And no matter how many championships that guy wins, if he can't win with this team, he shouldn't be able to win with any team. If we're being honest, this team is better. It's better than the Warriors. It's better than those Warriors teams he's played on. I'm gonna say it.
we'll see. Well, I feel like it's too early to say because that they already have 2 championships to their name.
Yeah.
I feel like you're on the right track, but I actually feel like the answer is James Harden, his teammate, because I feel
Really?
like Kevin Durant's legacy is kind of already solidified. Like you can say what you will about his rings, winning, going to Golden State, going to the team that beat him in the playoffs, at 73-9 team. But he has 2 finals MVPs.
Yeah.
And then Kyrie, he has a ring. And it came in arguably one of the most greatest playoff comebacks of all time. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Harden is the one that really needs to step up because when he forced his way out of Houston at the beginning of the season, he was telling the media this team is just not good enough, and the situation couldn't be fixed. And now he has arguably one of the best big threes of all time, if not the best big three of all time. So this is his opportunity to get to the finals, and if he can't do it, then I don't know. But if he does, I think he'll probably be regarded as the 3rd best shooting guard of all time, behind Jordan and
Behind.
Kobe. He probably
And
will
now,
be.
see, I agree. But I'm surprised you put him over Dwayne Wade.
I feel like it would be, you couldn't even really argue Wade at that point, because I feel like the only reason people put Wade over him is because he has 3 championships. But if Harden has a ring, then I don't know. I feel like you won't be able to argue it because has an MVP. He's led the, I feel like he would be in the final. He would have been in the finals so many times if it weren't for the Warriors. So it's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not really it's not really a case of he couldn't lead his team and to victory in Houston, because he basically did. He just
Yeah.
faced like the greatest dynasty
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
But I don't
Yeah,
know.
I agree. I actually really agree. That's a great point. I didn't think about that at all because, you're right. James Harden was like, I'm not playing for these Rockets. Get me out of here. And he basically chose the team he was able to go to. So if he's going to come to this team that already had Kevin Durant and Kyrie, and then they don't win it, yeah, he definitely looks like a clown for doing that, for leaving and then not even winning.
Oh yeah, we'll see though. I mean, he's a great opportunity. So
But
we'll
we can
see.
agree. We can agree. The Nets as a team have the
Yeah,
most.
yeah, pretty
We
much.
can
They
agree
have the
about that.
most to lose. They definitely have the most to lose. Um, all right. Well, my final question before we kind of make our predictions, overall predictions. Which player, and this is a question you thought of, which player could have a breakout performance in the playoffs? I mean, I can't really think of anyone that did this last year. Maybe like Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell, maybe. Like those two definitely, you know, broke out
Yeah.
last year in the playoffs. But is there any, kind of like younger players that you think could definitely take a leap in the postseason this year?
I mean, I don't know how much more of a leap he can take, but if somehow these Atlanta Hawks beat the Knicks, I really think Trae Young is going to be regarded as like, it's going to be Steph, Dame, Kyrie, and then him as best point guard in the league. If he not just beat the Knicks, if he can, he's not going to make it to the conference finals, but if he can, he'll be regarded as the fourth best point guard in the league. I promise you.
Over
If
you think,
unless Luka counts as a point guard.
there's just so many good point guards right now, dude. But yeah, I mean, I think another player on that team, on Atlanta's team, I feel like, yeah, like you said, I feel like Trae Young kind of already is regarded at that level. I think someone like John Collins on the Hawks, I feel like kind of if he can step up, because he's going to be most likely matched up against Julius Randle, and he's going to be going against the league's top defense. So like if he can ball out in the playoffs and really help that team potentially even win, then I feel like because he's set to become a restricted free agent this season or this off season. So if he performs well, then they're probably going to view him as like a key member of that young core. But if he doesn't, they might look to move him or something. So
especially after like that whole thing at the beginning of the season, how he was saying he doesn't like how they run the offense and stuff like that. He was saying how he might want to get traded.
yeah,
The fact that he stayed and was like, we're going to work this out and we're going to figure it out, and then they go and win and make a playoff run, that is going to look really good for him. Even if he doesn't stay, it's max contract time, baby. It's max contract.
exactly. It's time for him. This is his opportunity to get paid. So he's got to ball out. But I mean, a player that I think it's not even a case of could he break out. I think he literally has to in order for his team to win. And I kind of alluded to this earlier, but Michael Porter Jr. of the Denver Nuggets.
Really?
I think he has to literally. I mean, so I said they were on upset alert earlier, but if he can perform the way that he did in the regular season when they lost Jamal Murray, because so I'm pretty sure MPJ played 17 games without Jamal Murray after his ACL tear, after he tore his ACL. He averaged 23.5 points, 6.1 rebounds, shot 56% from the field, 49 from three, and 85 from the free throw line. So if he can play like that in the playoffs, then Denver has a chance, because Jokic is going to do his thing. Yep. But he needs his secondary, star. And that can be MPJ, but if he doesn't show up and even has like 2 or 3 bad games, then the Nuggets are probably going to lose this series. But
now, do you think, let's say, I hope he does, because honestly, MPJ is the one guy that I like on that Nuggets team, Jory. But let's say MPJ doesn't step up as much as he should. Do you think that Aaron Gordon can step up and take that place and put up 23 and a half a game, or you don't think he's got it in?
I don't know. I feel like most of his value comes on the defensive end. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Nuggets played, or if they put him on like Dame at times during the game, like defensively, because I mean, they really don't have anyone else that can like check Dame. Like, they just don't. Like, normally it would probably be like, Jamal or Will Barton, or, last year it would have been Gary Harris, but they don't. They literally have no one really left to really defend these guys. So I feel like the majority of his impact is going to be defense. I think MPJ is really the only one that has like the skill set to do that. But I'm excited.
That's a great answer.
I'm excited because MPJ, he got his kind of playoff experience last year, so it's not his first go around with the playoffs. And he said he was interviewed by someone in the Denver Post, the newspaper in Denver, and they were saying he is eager, to fill the scoring void in Denver's offense during the playoffs, because he knows he needs to step up. And I'm pretty sure he said game 1, he knows that game one is gonna like they have to set a tone, and he's excited to set that tone himself. I'm pretty
Okay,
sure that's what he
okay.
said. So
Okay.
I admire the confidence that he has, but you know, words only mean so much. He's gotta
Yeah.
step up. You know,
He can talk the talk, but can he walk the walk?
exactly. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun playoffs. That being said, I feel like we should go through each series and make predictions, at least for the first round, because yeah, I feel like we could go through the whole playoffs, but that would be too difficult. So let's just
Yeah.
stick to the first
Yeah.
round. So the first series, Sixers Wizards, the Wizards getting that eighth seed. What do you think? I mean,
Hmm, sweep.
yeah.
If they were playing, if they were this, if Wizards and Celtics were switched and the Wizards were playing the Nets, I would say, that might go 6 games just because of that Russ KD rivalry. Like Russ is going to bring it. But if they're playing the Sixers, Joel Embiid is not like nobody's stopping that guy. Maybe if they had Thomas Bryant, they'd get a game, but Joel Embiid, he might even average 40 on the whole series. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be Sixers and four.
yep.
Yeah. I just don't think the Wizards have it
And
have it in them.
also Bradley Beal isn't, he might not be 100% healthy.
Yeah.
So if he's not going to be, 100%, no shot, no shot.
Yeah. All right. The 2 seed or the second seeded Brooklyn Nets are facing the Boston Celtics. What do you think?
I would say sweep, but that man, Jason Tatum, he's a bad man.
Mm-hmm.
He might go off for another 50 piece. So Boston will get one game. Boston will have one game on him. It'll be Brooklyn in 5.
Yeah. I I want to agree. I feel like it would be stupid to say they couldn't win one game, but I don't know. I feel like the more games the Nets play, the stronger they're gonna be. Like I feel like they're gonna look bad at the beginning of the postseason, and then they're just gonna get better in each series because they just continue to play at each other and figure out how to play with each other. So I think it's gonna be Nets in four. I think they're gonna sweep them,
Okay.
but
Okay.
that could backfire quickly.
I could see it. I could see it.
Yeah. All right. Bucks Heat again. We already saw game one. The Bucks won. So what do you think for this series? Milwaukee, Miami.
This series, I feel like this is going to be one of those series where it's going to be like, the Bucks won this game, and then the Heat are going to come back and win game 2, and then it's just going to keep going back and forth. Bucks are going to win after that, and then the Heat are going to come back and win game 4. So I think this might be a 7-game series. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be Bucks in 7. I think the Bucks will come out on top.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I can definitely see Miami getting a few games, but I don't know. I just feel like Milwaukee's they just they're on a different level this year, and I don't think Miami is the same team they were last season, or at least in the bubble. I think Bucks in 5.
You think the Heat are only going to get a game?
I think Bucks in 5. I think Milwaukee can win game 2. I mean, it's probably stupid to say that, but I mean, they only won by 2 points. Again, they won 109-107, and I mentioned Jimmy Butler had arguably the worst game of his season. And so did Bam. Like Bam didn't even play that well offensively. So like the fact that your 2 best players played like crap and you only lost by 2, like that's probably a good sign. But I don't know. I just feel like Milwaukee. I feel like they just are out for revenge. And
Yeah, I agree. I agree. They're if man, if Milwaukee loses this series, I wouldn't even be surprised if Giannis requested a trade.
Really?
I wouldn't even be surprised. I wouldn't even be surprised if they lost in the first round against the same team that kept them from going to the finals last year. I would be like, get me out of here, coach. I'm not playing this. I'm not playing here. So
Ah,
that's why I said it was going to go to 7 because of the history of this matchup and because I don't think Jimmy is going to not play out of his mind next game. Jimmy Butler is going to go crazy next game. I guarantee it.
yeah. Can only hold that man for
I feel
so
like Chuck. I guarantee.
long. Right. Literally. Yeah, we'll see. I'm interested. He played 46 minutes today, so let's hopefully he doesn't get burnt out before it can be competitive.
Well, I guarantee Julius Randle and RJ play at least 45 minutes tomorrow.
If it goes to overtime, maybe. Who knows?
I'm saying regulation.
Speak,
I'm saying regulation.
speaking of that series, Knicks Hawks 4-5, the first time the Knicks back in the playoffs. What do you think? This is going to be a fun series because two teams led by players that don't really have any playoff experience. But what do you think? What are your predictions?
I predict it's going to be a very sloppy series. Very sloppy series because the Knicks they always have like a little 5-10 minute stretch of the game where they just can't score. Like nobody. Like it's not every game, but I feel like in a playoff game, especially against the same team, like in a 4-game series, the Knicks are going to have a bad game. Like they're going to have a terrible game at least once. So I'm going to say Knicks in 6. And only because our defense, you don't want to mess with it, bro. I just said Trae Young might be a breakout player, but we might lock that guy Trae Young up too. We might lock him up. He might only put up 20 maybe.
Yeah, I can see it. The pressure might get to him. And,
Yeah.
at the same time, we've never seen him in the playoffs, but we know that he's a very bad defender. And we can,
Yeah.
that might be, a focal point of the Knicks offense to just attack Trae Young on defense in the playoffs because he's not going to be able to defend anybody really. So I think the Knicks are going to get it done, but I think it'll go 7 games. I feel like there's going to be some games where the Knicks, their offense just stalls and their defense just doesn't hold up. So the Hawks are going to steal a few games, but I feel like the Knicks are going to get it done in the end and move on.
Yeah. The one thing, I'm pretty sure I might have said this last week, but the one thing that I'm really worried about is Trae Young and that move where he's getting all those foul calls. Because I know the way that the Knicks play defense, we get physical. Like we're all like pushing bodies, we're not playing no softy defense. So we're gonna be like up in his grill and he's gonna take advantage of that move. And Trae Young's gonna be getting to the line. That's the one thing that really scares me about this matchup.
Damn. No, yeah. Gotta stay out of foul trouble. And that's going to be tough for the young players to realize, but we'll see. It'll be a fun series to watch. Starts tomorrow on Sunday.
I think it might be a far-fetched take, but it might not also be. The MVP of that series will be Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose coming off the bench. If Trae Young is still in the game, if I'm Derrick Rose, I'm taking Trae Young to the basket every play, every time.
Yeah, I can see it. I can also see Julius Randle just continuing to dominate like he has all season.
He's going to have a tough matchup, though, with Collins and Capella. They have great interior defense, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how those front court players match up with one another. But now moving on to the Western Conference, the Utah Jazz, they get to face the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round after, again, they defeated the Warriors in a play-in game, the 8-9 play-in game. So, what are your predictions for this series, Utah versus Memphis?
I would say sweep, just because Utah was really just dominant in the regular season. Like, didn't they finish like 3 or 4 games above the Suns? And
Uh,
they had the second best record in the league.
I don't know if it was that many games, but it was definitely pretty sizable.
There was a good margin. There was a good space. There was a good space between them and the Suns. So that's why I think they're gonna sweep. But that man Ja Morant, coming off of this game against Steph Curry, like how well he played against Steph, he might come out crazy and get them a game.
The thing that concerns me though with Ja is like he did have a really good shooting performance, literally a career shooting performance against the Warriors where he knocked down 5 threes. If he can't shoot and he's just attacking the basket against this team, then it's not going to work because Rudy Gobert is going to be right there defending the paint like on every possession. Like I just don't think he's going to be able to do much offensively. So I think Utah can sweep them. I do. I think if it was the Warriors instead, I think it would probably be like a 6 or 7 game series. But I just feel like Utah can just handle Memphis like it's nothing. The only thing that concerns me though is that Donovan Mitchell hasn't played in like a month, I'm pretty sure. So like if he's I'm pretty sure he'll be back for this series, but that doesn't bode well for the rest of the playoffs, because if he's not like 100%, then that definitely limits how far they can go in the playoffs because he's a bulk of their offense. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, they know how to move the ball and get everybody involved, but if they don't have, Donovan Mitchell, just him having the ability to take over whenever he wants, if they don't have that down in the clutch, they're not gonna get it done.
Yeah, you need that in the playoffs, so we'll see. But now the 2-7 matchup that everyone is excited for, the Phoenix Suns versus the Los Angeles Lakers. I feel bad for the Suns because they really, you have one of the best seasons in franchise history, and your reward is you get to face LeBron and Anthony Davis and the Lakers and the reigning champions. Like, I would be pissed. But Chris Paul, I'm pretty sure, I don't know what game it was, but he was saying he's not really concerned about the Lakers because he realizes that I'm pretty sure he said, like, I've been in the Western Conference my whole career, and regardless of what seed I got in the playoffs, I've always had a tough matchup. So, to say the Lakers are going to be any harder than, and any of the other teams I've faced in the past, he's played the Warriors. He's played I'm pretty sure he played the championship Mavericks and the early Mavericks when, he's played all these great teams, and he's just like, I'm not really that concerned. Like it's going to be a tough series regardless. So I feel like that's a good mindset to have going into this series. But that being said, I still feel like the Lakers are going to win. I just don't feel good betting against LeBron. So I think Lakers in 6.
Especially in I agree. Lakers in 6. Because this is the first time we're going to see a LeBron versus Chris Paul playoff series matchup.
Damn.
And
crazy.
they're boys, like they're the banana boat crew, like they're best boys. So knowing Chris Paul, he's going to be like, I'm not losing to this guy. I'm not losing to my boy LeBron. Like Chris Paul is going to bring it all. But just the young, like, the youth and the inexperience of the rest of the team is what's going to hold them back.
Yeah.
Because Devin Booker's going to bring it. CP3 is going to bring it. DeAndre Ayton is like, he's iffy. He'll have a good game or two, but then he's probably going to, this is his first time in the playoffs. He's not going to know what it's going to be like. So I think for that, I don't think the Suns will get it done because of that.
Yeah, it's a damn shame, man. But I'm they have such a bright future that this will be probably a really good learning experience, even if they do lose. And if they win, I mean, then they're set up to potentially reach the conference finals. Who knows? Like, it's not out of the question.
Yeah.
They could seriously win this series, but I still feel like the Lakers are going to get it done. So 2 series now left, but the Denver Nuggets versus the Portland Trailblazers. We already kind of mentioned this as a potential upset. What do you think? What's your prediction?
It's going 7 games. I don't know who's gonna win it. I don't know who's gonna win it, but it's going 7 games.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
can't choose. This is one of those series where it's like it's every second of the whole game. It's gonna be like who's gonna win this game? Who's gonna win this game? So I don't know. It's going 7, but I don't know who's gonna win.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember. I'm not. It's not that long ago, but they played this in their first go around in this like in Jokic's and Jamal in this kind of era of the Nuggets. Their first playoff run ended in a 7-game series against the Blazers. So they are somewhat familiar with this team, and I don't know. It's gonna be a bloodbath, I think. And like you said, I think it's definitely gonna go 7 games. And if it's in Denver, if Game 7 is in Denver, so I mean, I feel like the Nuggets can get it done in 7. But again, MPJ has to literally play at like an all-star level. Jokic has to be his MVP self, and they got to figure out how to stop Dame or CJ. They got to contain at least one of them, because if they're both locked in, then this series might be over quickly. But
I think for Denver, I think it might be zone time. I think it might be zone defense time for them. I think that might be the best way to stop Dame
really,
just dribble past half court. Wow. Like
I don't know.
if you play man, because they literally have is Ennis Cantor, he's back on the Trailblazers, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I believe
They
so.
literally run plays where he will come up to like the hash and set a screen at the hash, and Dame will come around off a curl and yank it from there.
You just got to find ways to stop. Like
So
there are sometimes there's no defense to stop a player that good offensively, but I don't know. It's gonna be a fun chess match between those two coaches to see what happens, to see how they game plan against one another. Because on one end you have a guy with literally unlimited range, and then on the other end you have Jokic, who's arguably the best big
MVP.
man in the NBA. So like it's kind of funny, the tale of two teams here. But
Yeah, yeah.
lastly, again, the Mavericks won Game 1 of this series, but Clippers Mavericks, the 4-5 matchup in the Western Conference. What do you think? What is your prediction for this?
Um, I think Clippers in 6. I think they lost game 1 at home. I honestly think it'll be like close to a 20-point blowout next game. I think they're going to take care of business game 2 at home. I
Yeah, I can
think
see
they'll
that.
win game 3, and then the Mavs are going to do the same thing that the Clippers just did. They're going to say, we just lost at home. Let's bring it and win at home game 4. And then I think that's it. I think after that, the Clippers are going to be like, enough of these clowns. Let's just get this over with. And they're going to get the dub.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that happening. I can see them just getting furious and being like, we cannot let this happen again. But I don't know. I feel like going into this series, before anything, any of the games, I probably would have said Clippers in 5, but I think it's going to be closer than I originally expected. So I'll say Clippers in 7. I still
In
think the
7,
Clippers will win.
going 7.
Yeah, I can see it going 7, just because they got to. I mean, they had no answer for Luka, and I think Luka is just gonna win. It's just gonna keep winning games until they figure it out, or they just do better offensively themselves. So, but
I mean, the fact that Luka's doing that, the fact that Luka's playing at this level against Paul George and Kawhi, like it's really, you could switch either one of them onto Luka, and the fact that he's still giving either one of them buckets, like
yeah, I mean,
Luka, he's really got, he's got a huge bag. Like he can really do it all.
he wasn't being defended by Kawhi as much. I think Paul George was on him a little bit. They had like Marcus Morris on him a little bit. So like Kawhi wasn't defending him as much, but that might be into the adjustment next game. They might just throw Kawhi on him and see if he can do it. But yeah, like the fact that Luka's doing this as a 22-year-old is literally ridiculous, because he's literally putting up 30-point triple doubles in the playoffs against everyone's favorite perimeter defenders, and like he's just doing it like it's nothing. So what the hell is he going to be doing when he's like 27? Because
oh my God.
Like what? Like it's just I
can't even fathom how he could get better. Like there's no way he could be putting up much more points than he is now, and there's no way he's going to be any more efficient at it. Like what is he getting 70% from the field when he's 28? Like what is he going to be doing?
He's going to win. I feel like of all the young players in the league, I feel like he's definitely has like the most likelihood of winning a ring. Like regardless of like who's around him, I just feel like he's that good. Like you could probably say Jokic. I don't know if he's still. Jokic is like 26, but like Luka, if he doesn't win a championship by the end of his career, I'll be shocked, because like what he's doing right now is just doesn't it. It's literally insane.
He would go down. Well, if his career stays on the same trajectory, like if he keeps playing as well as he is now,
might be like a top 10
he'll
player
go down
of
as
all
the
time.
greatest player to never win a ring.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But if he does win a ring, he'll probably be regarded as like a top 15, 10 player ever, because of how
oh yeah,
this is insane. Like it's literally insane what he's doing. But yeah, I still think the Clippers can get the job done in this series. But yeah, that's everything. Unfortunately, again, we couldn't have Toby here, but we figured we'd put something out there just to.
Yeah, don't even know what that guy's up to. No idea why he missed this episode.
Yeah, but next week, as the playoff series continue to go on, potentially we'll see some series, that are already over by this time next week. But yeah. Any last words before we sign off?
Trae Young, I hope you foul out game 1.
Oh man. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't got anything else. So until next time.
Yep.
Thanks for
watching.
Until
Next week.
From myself, Jorie Mickens, and my two co-hosts, Justin Sadovi and Chris Tobias, thank you so much for listening to that episode of the Fullcourt Report NBA show. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at FullCReport, on Instagram at the.fullcourt.report. Like and comment on this video and subscribe so you never miss a minute of action.